a bit of an update on the Jaguar situation. Firstly, Pryskop had a spin in the number 3 car and came in because he thought there was a brake problem. They had a quick changeover, and no, it wasn't. There must have been something on the circuit. And the number 1 car, the crew are still waiting with tyres and a windscreen. So there is a stop coming up for them, although they have actually been there for some 10 minutes now, so he's done 3 or 4 laps. So they may stand and wait there until the scheduled stop for that car. So at the moment it seems as though there's nothing untoward.
But this is where the Le Mans atmosphere again takes over. We were talking about it before the start of the race. That's one part of the Le Mans atmosphere and legend. And now as darkness descends, the car's headlights at the moment out as well. Not too much difficulty, but it won't be long now. So it's by 10:30. Darkness will descend.
The other thing that happens at 10:30 is that pit lane reporters get absolutely ravenous, because wafting over from the side of the stand where the tribune is and all the other stands is the most gorgeous array of aromas from all the cookery stands behind there, and this is really when it starts to become very tough.
Right, well, we have Will Hoy. He's had a long pit stop. He's no doubt been having a good dinner.
A very good dinner, actually.
Well, I'm glad about that.
A Yoast supper, very good.
A Yoast roast?
Yes, a Yoast roast.
Yoast in time, was that, Will?
Yeah, oh my goodness.
Now,
why did I come back?
Oh, because you've got lots of information to give us still, Will. Now, tell us, in these, as darkness descends, dusk is descending over the circuit, is this when it's really difficult to see where you're going to drive? I mean, does it get quite tricky now?
Yes, it does. I mean, it's the adjustment from sort of the bright light to the fading light and then to darkness. I mean, actually driving at night, once you've adjusted to it, is, I find, quite easy and quite relaxing, because it's so different, such a different experience. It actually keeps you quite alert. I think driving sort of these sort of conditions are difficult when it's you're getting the headlights, you're getting used to them, and you get an awful lot of dazzle on your rear lights. You just, unlike if you're driving a road car, I mean, the first thing you do is switch your anti-dazzle switch and you forget about it. But you can't with these. You just have to accept, put up with it, and it really does tire. It makes your eyes very tired over a very short period. But you have to get used to it.
Now, whilst you've been dining with Yoast, have you learnt any tidbits of information and gossip and scandals in the teams?
Well, not that I can divulge to you.
Oh,
no.
come on.
No, I don't. But I do know that I think that the Brun cars are running just over on fuel, from what I can gather. I'm talking to 1 or 2 people. They're running the short tail version of the Porsche, and from gathering what you've been rambling on about the last 20 minutes, earlier on that was, that the Yoast cars in long tail form are obviously well under their fuel schedule and have a lot in hand.
Yes, they seem to be best placed of all in terms of fuel, but in terms of... Paul's got a thought on that. Paul?
No, it wasn't a thought on that. It was a thought on the fact that we've got the number 1 Jaguar back in the pits again, a mere half hour after it last was in.
Yes, we have. Tom Walkinshaw absolutely leaping all over the place, the most mobile I've seen him in ages. The rear bodywork is off, the front screen has not yet gone in, but the mechanics are taking the old one out, so that is going to happen. Alan Ferte, I beg his pardon, still in the car. There are lights trained all over the back of the engine bay, and it would appear, yes, they're topping it up with water. I thought I saw somebody with an asbestos cloth doing what I imagined was removing the top-up bottle cap. That's exactly what's happening. On the other side, all sorts of stainless steel hoses being made visible. Mechanics working away on something. I can't quite see what it is right down in the cooling area though. So possibly the last time when we saw that car with the water and oil in the pit lane, there may just have been the portent of something else going on.
A telltale sign, yes, of something not too right. Now, although this is the leading Jaguar, its pit stop, it may be a problem for the car. There is still those 2 seats available for Martin Brundle, aren't there? Because Salazar and Sala have not yet driven. So number 4, for example, in 2nd place, and it's going to be taking the lead, isn't it, Paul? With this pit stop by number 1.
Yes, it is, exactly.
So number 4 still has a 3rd seat available, which if Martin, and he's a very, very fit chap, he does train very, very hard, watching his diet and so on, he could well be ready to take over that car if it looks as though number one has a significant problem. And from what Martin was saying, it doesn't sound too good. What are they still poking around in the engine there, Martin?
Yeah, it's still working. The portable lights are still trained down on the right-hand side of the car. That's the side nearest the pit wall, where I can't see, unfortunately, over the air cleaner. Two mechanics still working away, three of them now, one holding a torch. Tom Walkinshaw gesticulating. If anybody knows what's on with these cars, then he does. I can see what looks like another kind of trap tank or header tank. It's also in blue alloy, so I would assume that that is still the cooling system. On the other side, I don't know the layout of the car well enough to be able just to predict what is down there under the fuel filler on the driver's side, but certainly there's still work going on there. They're still working though on fitting the screen, so at any rate this stop would have been a long one. The safety catches which hold the screen in are being screwed back on now as we speak, so it's all down to what is happening on the right hand side of the car.
Well, this pit stop is costing it places. It came in when it was leading, Paul, wasn't it? So now that it's had the pit stop, it's dropped certainly from first to second, possibly also to third behind the Nissan, the leading Nissan.
Yes, that's right, with 95 laps completed and an awful long way to go still.
Are we not getting to the stage, gentlemen, do you think? And Janice, if she's with us on the air at the moment, lady, when number 4 may well be now destined for Martin Brundle to take over. Because that car has still got that spare seat available, and it rather looks as though number 1 is no longer going to be a car to finish the race. It's certainly got a serious problem here. Paul, do you think, or Will?
Well,
what do you think?
yes. I think it's a useful muse, certainly.
I think it will happen, actually. Having talked to my brother-in-law, Roger Silman, I think it's likely to happen.
So number 83 back into the lead, which it last held some considerable time ago, am I not right in saying? Paul perhaps researched that point, but anyway, Chip Robinson at the wheel of that car when we last had news of it, and he will presumably hand over. I thought it was about time Derek Daly drove again. So number 83 in the lead, and number 16 with Oscar Larori at the wheel, the Repsol Porsche, will move up into second place. And we'll now go back to the studio.
Yes, and you come back to us at a rather good time actually, Ian, because we are literally just being joined in the studio by the driver of the Alpha Racing Team Porsche, and that's car number 45, Tiff Liddell. Good evening, Tiff.
Good evening, good evening.
Good evening, Tiff.
Hello, Ian. The long and the short of it, the answer is, as you might know by now, the short of it was the right choice.
And you're having a fine time, aren't you?
Yes, indeed. I mean, I was worriedly talking to Ian yesterday about whether I'd chosen to have the long tail or the short tail. And interesting, only the Brun team and our little Japanese team had actually bought both choices here to try. And we're feeling a bit smug, really. We have made the right choice. And we're giving the Works team a right old run for their money.
Well, you are indeed. You're as you know, just one place behind at the moment. You just hopped out of the car. You're the last driver to have come in.
No, that was David's out. So Anthony's in there now. I'm in about 10 laps time, I guess.
Right, and the car seems, from what we're looking at it from up here, seems to be running absolutely trouble-free.
This is a shame. We were actually ahead of the Works car. We had one unscheduled stop. They checked the rear pads. There was enough pad width left, but after 2 laps in, I had a low fluid warning lamp come on, and you really just can't risk it. And I had to come in, and they changed the rear pads and topped the fluid up, although there wasn't really any danger, but we didn't dare risk it. So that one unscheduled stop has just put us behind the Stuck Bell car.
Now, how many Le Mans have you done now, Tiff?
This is my 9th.
And you were telling me at Monza, I think, that you like to collect a model of every car you've ever driven at Le Mans. Are they even now working on? We've got Grand Prix models, of course, sponsoring our hourly bulletin, so perhaps you could get them to make you a model of your this year's car.
Yes, well, someone gave me a Richard Lloyd Racing Porsche for Christmas, but unfortunately just after the Christmas dinner it caught fire and burnt out, so I'm afraid I'm looking for another Richard Lloyd Porsche.
What was the cause of the fire?
I don't know. It was another mystery, you know, and so we're still working on that one.
Have you got one of every other car that you've driven?
No, I'm missing a few. I'm still missing the Ibec, which was the very first car I raced here, the Open Group 6, and a few others. I think I better get down to the pits. When did Anthony come in?
Oh, right. Well, yes, you had better actually, Tiff. Yes,
Yes, Tiff, the news is that the car's been sitting for 20 minutes and people down there are going, where the bloody hell's Liddell? Not quite true, no, but there is a lot of action going on down here.
Well, Tiff,
so if I... Sorry, yes, Ian, carry on.
I was going to say, yes, thank you very much indeed, Tiff. It's delighted to hear from you. Perhaps you'd like to call in at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning when you're past the top 6.
Well, as my caravan's parked in the public car park 3 miles from the pits. I have to walk right past this box on the way, so I might speak to you later.
Thanks very much. All the best, Steve. John Nielsen has taken second place. Jaguar number 3 has just moved up on that last lap into second place ahead of the Jesus Pereira driven Porsche number 16. So for the first time for probably, and John's noting all this in the studio, so you may remember when we last had a Jaguar in one of the top 2 places, but it's some time ago, I think, certainly since before the last pit stops. So we've got the Jaguar number 3, John Nielsen, back into second place, and he is at 1 minute and 48 seconds nearly behind the leading Nissan. So that's a pit stop really in terms of time, but it's still very much in the hunt, that Jaguar number 3. In fact, it's been interesting this, hasn't it? We've had Jaguar number 1, then Jaguar number 4, now Jaguar number 3 as the leading challenge from the 4 Jaguar cars. Number 2 hasn't yet had the opportunity to get involved in that.